Hi there, it's David Young, the Resourceful Coach, and what we're going to talk a little bit about today, been asked this question, does the release change when you go from club to club? So for me, the answer to that before we really get started, no it doesn't, and what we're going to show you how it should stay consistent throughout. So you're not thinking about doing a different release from club to club. So let's explain initially what we mean by release, okay? The release for me is just simply, when you've made a swing, you start to make what we call a wrist cock, which is you create sort of an angle here, and it's using that, it's releasing that angle as it comes down into the golf ball. And what we're going to show you today, that if you're swinging the club at a reasonable amount of speed, if you allow it to happen, this release will happen naturally. And if you start to get that feeling, it will help you all different types of shots. So we're actually going to look at sort of 3 different clubs, but we'll probably cover 4 different shots. I think that's the important thing that we're going to look at. Okay, we're going to start with just your basic swing. I've got a mid-iron here, and the idea is, for me, the #1 priority to get the correct release through the club, getting rid of this angle through your wrist correctly, is down really initially to 2 things, and they're both to do with your grip. Is #1, have a good grip position, and #2, have a good grip pressure. Okay, and what that will allow the wrist to do is work together as a team and make sure then, if we're nice and relaxed, the weight of the club will actually get rid of that angle for you. So the importance for me is that if you think about something, let's just come a little bit closer to the camera. If you think about something and you pick something up or you grip something, you would naturally grip it in your fingers. I think that's quite important to understand. So when you hold a golf club, #1, to get the hands in the right position, and #2, to get the correct grip pressure, gripping in the fingers is very, very important. And I try to feel, if I sort of look at my hands and I sort of do this and create like a little alleyway for my fingers, that's where I want the club to rest through my fingers. It allows my left thumb, as a right-handed golfer, to position itself slightly down the right side of the club. And if you look at your natural position of your arm when it hangs beside your body, that's where your thumb goes. So you can see what we're trying to encourage here. You grip something in your fingers and you can feel what you're going to do, and that's the natural position of your arm. So the more we get that as close to what you would do day in, day out, it's got to help for the wrist to then work correctly through the swing. And if we do the same with the other hand, again, grip in the fingers, look at where the hand naturally goes and get that on. What we're doing now, going up through the forearms into the shoulders, everything feels as if it can work much more together. I see a lot of people, they'll have one grip very strong and another hand working another way, and straight away you can see how awkward the shoulders look. And to now get the correct wrist movement with both hands is nearly impossible. So the more your hands can work as a team, #1, gripping in the correct position, and then #2, getting the correct grip pressure, it then allows you, as you go through that swing, as we swing the club back, to feel we're now getting what I call this 90-degree angle. You get like a 90-degree angle here as we go through. Now, what's really important is if you're relaxed, the weight of the club will do most of that for you. So you don't need to concern yourself with that as you make the swing. And here's the even better news is, and this is where people think, oh, release the club, I've got to come down, I've got to flick the club through the ball. You then end up trying to create power. You're actually losing power. So the 2 biggest faults I see are golfers, when they come into the ball, they've been told to release the club, so they get to it and they think they've got to flick, and now it looks like the club is on the up. And the most common result is they probably thin or top the golf ball. So the ball goes very low for what you'd expect it to do. We're going to show you some drills as we go through this to help you to achieve a better result with that idea. The second thing is they're told, yeah, get that release really early, get it going really quick, and they start to do it here. And the problem now is you're losing all your power here. All your power's gone. By the time you get to the ball, there's nothing left. So we're just going to show you, and this sort of teaching aid that I use a lot, what we call an impact bag. Let me just bring this across. It's one of the best teaching aids I see. And I don't use a lot of teaching aids because I want to mentally get you in the right position. But this one, amazingly, when you take the ball out of the equation, I would say within, on average, 2, maybe 3 swings, somebody does a perfect release. And what we're looking for at that point of impact is that that angle you've created, as it suggests, has released itself and has got back to the ball in the right position. And what we're looking for as a right-handed golfer is my left arm, wrist and club look like they're all pretty much in a line. Now what I do and what I've developed with one of the other coaches I used to work with is rather than worry about the club face, we get rid of that. Let's just bring something else in. Oh, that's right, getting all my teaching aids here. And basically what we've developed is this basically just a shaft with no head on it. And we can just work on this idea of creating the release. So let's look at what happens. There's two things that go wrong when people do this. The guy who comes in and tries to flick the ball up will get here, and as he hits it, he comes up, either misses the bag or he flips the bag over. Okay, now if we did that with a golf ball, the likelihood is I'd probably top the ball. And you can see all my body energy going backwards. Okay, then you get the other golfer we mentioned. He's trying to get rid of the angle here. So as he comes down, it's all there. And then there's no power really going into the back. It sounded solid, but not enough power. So we want to keep that wrist angle as long as we can. That's the important thing. And if you're swinging at speed, even this, where it's got no weight really in the head, it's not the head of the club there, that angle will disappear or go. So what we're looking for is creating the angle as it comes down and maintaining it. And then as I get into it, I get rid of that. Now, you can see if I do that with a little bit of energy, there's the energy. But what's important is the bag hasn't flipped over. You think the bag would jump further forward, but because I've delivered the energy more down towards the middle to bottom of the bag, it just pops forward a small amount. But you can hear the power, okay? That's the difference. Let's do that again. So I'm generating that energy from there, keeping it. There's the energy as I come into that position. So the good news, as we said, is when you swing that club, what happens is the weight of the club head, the energy coming down will get rid of that angle, okay? It's amazing when you do this for somebody within 2 or 3 swings without the ball, they do it correctly. And then when they go to the ball, the first 2 shots are normally pretty good. And then we talk about habits. What do? We get back to that guy trying to flick it and he starts to top it again. He sees the golf ball go 10, 15 yards further with the new feeling, but he's practiced the other way too much. So it's very easy to go back to it. So when you're changing a habit, one, it's understanding what to do. Keep that angle as long as you can. It will always release itself. Don't worry about that. You'll see that when I do some shots with the drills that we're going to give you, you'll see how that angle will always release itself. And it doesn't matter, whatever the length of swing, the wrist cock and the weight of the club will unhinge itself, uncock itself as you come down to do the job that you want it to do when it gets back to the ball. Right, so let's look at a couple of little extra drills that we're going to give you to understand the importance of getting this feeling with all the clubs in your bag, whether that's something like a hybrid, a 7-iron, or even just a little pitch shot, is to look at that. So we're going to look at 3 different shots and show you how then we can sort of get that feeling, and with the help of the impact bag, how we generate that power into the ball. So the first shot we're going to look at is really your full swing, and we're using something like a hybrid. And if you look at one of my other videos, what we call creating effortless power, we can look at them, we use this sort of idea of what we call the L to L swing, which is basically creating, we've talked about it before with the impact bag, we create this 90-degree angle. From there, the arms should swing through. What you felt this side of the swing, as the arms go through, we then should start to recreate the right angle that side. And the swing is like a big circle. I think that's the important thing to understand. The golf swing is just a circle working around your body, coming down. And again, if you've got that grip right and that grip pressure correct, you'll feel the weight of the club. You'll sense the wrist moving. The biggest thing I would say, the phrase I hear a lot, which I don't want you to use, is have a loose grip. If you have a loose grip, the club's going to move around in your hands, and you're going to grip the club, and this idea won't work. Okay? So all I do, if you watch my videos, I'm doing any playing lesson on the golf course, I do this L to L swing as my sort of pre-shot routine, where I'll just feel the club there to there. And I'm not consciously thinking L to L, it's just a routine that I've got into, and I can now sense that feeling as I go through. And what I'm sensing is the weight of the club being allowed to reach the bottom of the swing, bottom of the arc. That's all I'm feeling, is that club is coming back down into that point. And that's what I'm looking to achieve as I come back into that shot. So now I've got to trust it. I've got that idea, just got to trust it. I'm now going to do a full swing. What I'm looking for, as we said, is imagine that point of impact when I hit the bag. That's what I'm looking for there. If I generate that feeling, I'm going to do that with all of the shots we're going to show you. But this is the full swing. I've used the L to L idea to give me the feeling of the swing. Trust it. And we've hit that ball nicely with my hybrid up the practice ground there, around about 180 to 200 yards. And what you can see hopefully in the video, and again, stop the video, show it, look at it and look at the position, do it in slow motion, but you'll see how I create this angle. As I then come down, I'm just letting that angle uncock itself, and then as the arms go through, I recock the angles. So there's our L to L swing. That's your general basic full swing. We've just done it with a hybrid. Now what we're going to do, and you may not be able to do these two things. One of them you will be able to. The other one might be a little bit trickier to do. But it's showing again, if you release the club down to the bottom of the arc, how the club now will perform. And if we give ourselves an environment to do it, we can really get the idea of how the club is going to work for us. So here's our second drill. We talked about power and how that release is going to work there. But for me, the next thing is understanding. If you get this wrist cock correct, you get this release correct, you're going to start striking the ball a lot better. And the most important thing is you're going to strike nicely down and through the golf ball. As we showed you on the other video, the L to L swing, we got the feeling, or earlier in the video I should say, we get the feeling of getting there, and the importance is to keep the club going through. And if we do that, the club can perform as it's designed. So what we've created here is a shot where we've got some trees right in front of us. And if we do it correctly, what will happen is, and I get that release correct as I arrive back down at the bottom of the ball, I'm going to have the power to get the energy to get it up and over the tree. But just as important, if not more important, I'm going to feel that that release is going to strike down to the bottom of the golf ball. Remember when we hit the impact bag earlier, the guy trying to flip it up. We don't want to flip it up. There's no sensation when you play this shot that we're trying to flip the wrists into the shot. We want to keep the club going through. And it's the energy you've created through the wrist cock that's going to give you the desired result that we want when you play the shot. So the importance then is from there is to trust that idea. And what we've given you here is a tree in my way. If I do it incorrectly, I'm the flipper. I'm going to thin it straight into the tree. If I do it correctly, my 8-iron is going to put it over that tree. Absolutely no issues whatsoever when I play this shot. So that's the important thing to understand. So we're just going to let the club do what it's designed to do. There's the wrist cock down, and the ball now goes over the top of the tree, nice and easily, down the fairway, and we've got the shot. And as I said, you may not be able to practice that shot because obviously how often are you going to be able to go out on a golf course and be able to play over trees? But that's trusting the wrist cock, the release, and the loft of the club. So I've given you now power, understanding of the club, and now what we're going to look at is a chip shot, say over a bunker, and how the wrist and the release, how that's going to work to give you better results. So here's our third shot, and we're just going to look at a pitch shot, just really over a bunker. And the reason why I've chosen the shot over the bunker, because again, it's trusting that loft of the club, and it's trusting that feel of that club angle just releasing itself down to the bottom of the arc. Okay, so big question I always get asked when it comes to chipping, do you have wrist cock? 100% yes. Okay, you do not want to feel rigid. We're back to that feeling of sensing the grip pressure is right. And what will happen in the swing, we'll look at it a little bit more from another angle in a second, is if your grip pressure is correct, just the length of the swing will dictate how much wrist cock you get. And if it's correct, it will release itself at the bottom of the arc. So we're just going to look at it very quickly from this angle, but take more emphasis from the face-on angle. And the idea of this is like the shot over the tree with the 8-iron, is just to allow the club's weight to drop down. So you'll see, just looking at a little 30-yard pitch over a bunker. From there, it just goes up, down, just pop it forward to get the desired result that we want. So you can see I've allowed the wrist to cock, and then I've let them uncock as we come down. But let's look a little bit more what that looks like, the idea of the impact bag, but what we're doing with a pitch shot from more of a face-on angle. So here's our face-on angle. It's much easier to see the wrist cock from this position, but you'll see what I'm going to do with a pitch shot. You've seen the length of the shot from the other shot beforehand, is we're just letting that wrist cock, letting that set itself up on the way back, and then that angle is just going to drop down. And the key thing, if you watch the follow through, I'm not really getting through here and trying to recreate the L afterwards. I'm just letting that happen. I'm not worried about what's going to happen after the ball. The main thing is I want to feel my arms continue swinging through the shot. That's the most important thing. The swing of the arms, and then the weight of the club will cock and uncock the wrist to give you that release there and through. And you can see as I go through this side, I've hardly felt like the wrists have recocked. And that's just because of the length of the swing and the power that I'm putting into it. Full swing, we're up here, the momentum would take you through to create that L position. On a shot like this, 30-yard pitch, I don't want to feel the club trying to go up. I want to feel like that energy that I've created here is swinging down through underneath the ball and it will elevate the ball up into the air for us. So we're in that position as we go through. Okay, all those 3 balls nicely gone over the bunker, give me the result that I want. But the key thing is what I'm doing throughout that swing with the correct grip pressure, whatever length of swing I make, the wrists start to cock, and then I allow that angle to release itself. Full shot, it'll be that full L position here, obviously going higher, and then that would unwind and give me more power than what we're seeing here with the pitch, where it maybe only looks like I'm getting maybe 2/3 of that wrist cock. But that's okay, because that length of shot is what I need to get the result that I'm after. So what we've looked at today, the release of the club, showing you how important it is to get the right grip pressure, but allow the weight to do the work. Don't become that flicker. Don't become that player who wants to help the ball up into the air. Just let the club come down. It will release itself. You don't need to concern yourself with that. The club will do that for you if you let it. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you soon.